You know, I wonder if that whole Naughty Dog PS3 shutdown with the servers, I wonder if it was a big conspiracy, because that's a bit weird that The Last of Us Part 2 is not having any multiplayer after today and they shut down the PS3 servers. That is so fucking weird that it can't be coincidental. But again, I can see the other side. Servers take money to put up and initiate and activate, so maybe they were like, I just don't want to pay this shit anymore. But you see the title, The Last of Us Part 2 will not have a multiplayer mode, and Andy Newman, the co-creator, stated that it was going to have multiplayer at one point, and now it's not. I think the full quote was, multiplayer will not be included in The Last of Us Part 2. I know we kind of announced that it would have multiplayer, but as the game has developed, it's become so ambitious, so grand in scope, and so intricate in its complexity that it really required the full focus of the studio to deliver this single player experience. I can kind of see both sides in this argument. Let's focus on Mr. Andy Newman real quick. I do think it's kind of misleading to make a statement and not realize how the scope of a game is developing. I know sometimes you can find this out like mid or late in the cycle, but to say this game will have multiplayer at one point in time and then to say that the game won't have multiplayer will have people a bit upset, because you promised them something initially and now you're kind of taking that away. And I can understand the multiplayer people not liking that concept. The Last of Us factions could have been improved upon. It could have been made better. I said numerous times in videos that they could have put in a co-op element where you're fighting against clickers, and that would have been really fucking fun, really fucking engaging, and now we don't get that opportunity. On the other hand, I do like a meaty single player experience. I do enjoy and appreciate that they want to take time to make the main game as good as it possibly can be without any interferences. But there is like certain questions to this goal, this criteria of announcing this news. Like, first thing is first, why couldn't you get a B team or something to work on it? Because during the time Uncharted 3 was being made and The Last of Us, they got both of those games out, and that was when the rumors were swirling about Naughty Dog having this A team and B team, A team working on Last of Us, B team working on Uncharted 3. So it's kind of weird that they won't offer it even as like a post-game launch sort of thing, you know what I mean? Like, they won't have Last of Us factions as like a sort of post-game launch thing when the game is done and finalized. Maybe they could do something like that still, we don't know yet. But they did take out something that was from the first game, and they could have expanded upon it and made it into something more. Also, I just don't get the quarreling and bickering about it. I mean, like I said, I can see both sides. I would definitely still want a well-rounded and polished game over tacked on multiplayer, and let's be honest, we cannot pretend that Factions didn't also have its problems with the pay-to-win microtransactions, and we know how Naughty Dog likes their microtransactions to the point where they are still in Uncharted 4. You can still get pay-to-win weapons that are probably better than some of the base loadout guns. You can still get some of this stuff, and I don't understand. I think if they did make Factions Part 2 or something like that, it will still have micros no matter what, because that's how Naughty Dog gets their money. I'm just really indifferent on it. Like I said, I can agree with both sides of the spectrum. Would I want a better single player to come out of this experience to be well-founded, to be great in terms of storytelling? If they can deliver, to be absolutely 100% fucking great, adding a cherry on top with that gameplay revolution that makes the gameplay from the previous game look pale in comparison, I would want that, absolutely. But on the other side, you did kill some of the shelf value with the game just a little bit. It's like, for a single player game, once you do everything, once you get the platinum trophy, you're done. It's time to move on. Like, that is the one crutch of a single player game. Nothing lasts forever. It doesn't last forever. I know multiplayer can also fall under that same umbrella, but at least it would give the game some extra replay value if they did have factions in place, and if they could enhance opposite to some of the things that I described in this video. I don't think both sides should attack each other, single player or multiplayer guys. I think we lost something in the process and maybe we'll gain something more. But it is unfortunate to the fandom who really appreciated factions and they just wanted to sit down and have some fun experiences with their friends. Now the only way they can do that is by playing the multiplayer in the first game. I don't mind the idea of tacked on multiplayer if it's good and if they can do something with it. And like I said, factions did have a solid foundation, but at the same time, I don't get like why they would do something like this, why they would even say it would be in the game in the first place if they knew that this game was going to be larger than life. The idea of regression should never be celebrated is what I'm trying to say. Like, if something was in a previous game and it's taken out and it was actually a good feature, I wouldn't just go around and say, oh, it was good they took this out because they couldn't do anything with it to begin with. No, if it was a bad feature, if it was meaningless and pointless, or if they had something in its wake that could actually enhance the experience for better instead of worse, then I would not like that feature being removed from the game. I think most people just don't understand that, like, sometimes things can have potential if they were indeed great. I know some people don't care about multiplayer stuff, and that's fine, but remember, factions did have a community, and I do want to enhance single player, but I also would love if they did do something for replay value that was actually pretty cool, that added to the fundamentals of a game, as opposed to making that game just feel like one and done after you completed everything and got 100% and it's over. You move on to the next game, it happens. It's one of those things that happen, but I still wouldn't say single player is dead like fucking EA has done. In your face, they are enhancing single player experiences and they will probably continue to do so after this game. So it does make me happy that they still care about this component of storytelling. They still care about this medium. It does make me happy that it is going forward in the very least in that aspect. I just wish that they would release factions as a post-game update and let people, you know, try it out after the game has launched and you have nothing else to do and you want to add more to the game, whether it's story, DLC, or multiplayer. You know, my biggest fear of this game is just the game being a piece of eye candy and they don't justify those two discs in terms of gameplay intricacies, in terms of not being repetitive, because sometimes, more often than not, when a studio makes a bold claim that this is their biggest game ever created, they tend to have more repetition poured in there than normal. Remember when Capcom said that Resident Evil 6 was going to be the biggest game of the franchise? And some of the campaigns are very, very polarizing. Yeah, I don't want a lengthy game to be polarizing and they don't deliver on the gameplay intricacies to warrant the justification of taking away content from the previous game. The Last of Us Part 2 is too fucking discs. I expect some form of quality from a gameplay perspective. I expect that gameplay to be somewhat engaging as opposed to just sitting there for like 20 hours and questioning what I played. I hope that is decent to some extent and that they improved on the fucking first entry in every possible way. This is gonna be a game that's 100 or something gigs, because 2 Blu-ray discs is 50 gigs. It's gonna be a game that's 100 gigs and no multiplayer. Even Red Dead pulled that off, and they had a lot going on under the hood. They had to make their game look good. They had to do some interesting content in the mix to make things, you know, engaging once in a while. They had to do open world, and they still put in multiplayer. But on the other end of that spectrum, the multiplayer for Red Dead is ass. I want a game that has both quality single player and quality multiplayer. If you can't do one or the other decently, then don't even bother, in my opinion. So how do you guys feel about the Last of Us multiplayer not being included into the package? Are you furious about it? Do you really not care? Sound off in the comments, let me know and tell me what your thoughts are. Personally, as a factions player, I'm kind of disappointed. I kind of wish that Naughty Dog would have been straight up honest about that day one, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. Once again, if you like the video, be sure to slap a like on that, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. I know this was pretty haphazard. I know this was pretty much slapped together, but again, I wasn't even supposed to be here today. Wow, I sound like fucking Dante Hicks from Clerks. Oh my god. That's my life in a nutshell. I'm not even supposed to be here today, but I am here, and I am hopefully delivering a video where you guys can discuss amongst yourselves about how you feel about this situation. So I will see you guys soon. Once again, share me out, subscribe, like, and I will talk to you guys next time. Later.